2009 was a landmark year for gaming. Several big-budget sequels came out that you still feel the ripple effects of 16 years later. And one of the biggest releases that year is, of course, Assassin's Creed 2, the debut of Ezio Auditore. To me, one of the best games, okay? I really liked the original Assassin's Creed game, but Assassin's Creed 2, it's the quintessential sequel. Now, allow me to elaborate on that for a second, because it took everything that was great about the first game and just made it bigger, made it better. It's almost like the people working on that stuff used to know how to make video games, and it's funny, right? Because 16 years on, Ezio and the impact of Assassin's Creed 2 is still being felt across the industry in the form of, an update on a game that a lot of people at the time were big mad about receiving accolades for Game of the Year, but it's funny how that game still has staying power, and then you compare and contrast that with a bunch of games coming out this year that don't even last a month, one of which we'll talk about at the end of the day, and then the other, which is about to get another sequel here this time next week. God, it's going to be... Next week it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a big one because we got Snow White, and then, of course, we've got Assassin's Creed Shadows, which, yeah, it's funny, right? Because I don't think... Oh, my God, I'm just thinking about it and just running the numbers. I don't think in 2041 we're going to be talking about Yasuke or Naoi. Oh, that's a depressing thought. That's 16 years from now. I'm going to be 51. Wow. Anyways, but Assassin's Creed Shadows, yeah, right, because we're already supposed to know the extent to this disastrous game, because it was supposed to release midway through November, and then midway through February. I think it was supposed to come out on Valentine's Day. Now it's going to be breaking hearts on the first full day of spring. And now it's time to really take stock of where we're at this point in time, because the spin, well, it's going to be tremendous. There have been other failures that everybody have properly assessed on the horizon over the past year. Take a look at Concord, Dragon Age, the Veilguard, and like I said, more on that later this very day, in fact. And yeah, everybody knew rightly that, oh yeah, those games are going to suck. And so everybody started to take stock and take tally and wonder how big of a bomb it actually is. And in the case of Assassin's Creed Shadows, it might not be the worst game. We've seen some gameplay, and at least it does look somewhat functional. It'll probably be a little bit more optimized than Star Wars Outlaws, but is it going to be great? Is it going to reach the heights of Assassin's Creed 2 or hell, any other point in the Assassin's Creed franchise? Very much doesn't seem to be the case, because for as much gameplay as we've seen, we haven't heard all that much, or haven't really seen all that much about this highly touted story and how important it is. And wasn't it like a few weeks back, like the full game leaked or something like that? It's almost like they were putting that out there, okay? Ubisoft is putting it out there, so when the game ultimately underperforms on release, they'll be able to craft the narrative that, oh yeah, it got leaked weeks ago, and pirates, oh man, it's ruining everything, and we're being mocked, so that's why we need to shut down the Steam tracker numbers, because they also planted those seeds a little while back after everybody was mocking Star Wars Outlaws for its failed launch. So this is going to be, we're not done talking about Shadows. Oh no, not by a long shot, because this bombing run on the horizon, it's going to have ripple effects. Kind of letting you know that Assassin's Creed is still kind of a seminal franchise in the industry, but the budget is rumored to be between $250–350 million without marketing, maybe $400 million. And now that might seem like a lot, but we've also heard, last year talking about Skull and Bones. That was a quadruple experience. Yeah, that was somewhere in the realm of $400 million. Star Wars Outlaws, I think, the way Ubisoft put it out was it was the biggest marketing campaign that they've done for any game ever. Didn't really help them out all that much. Concord, it also had a similar budget. Veilguard as well. So yeah, those, and then Spider-Man 2, when Sony had their leaks, what was that, at the beginning of 2024, where we ended up getting the numbers that they spent. Insomniac Games spent $365 million on that. That's crazy. So yeah, this it seems like a big number, but it's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities. $50 million games are pulling in as $200K to $300K concurrent on Steam. Yeah, if you're an investor, you would be worried the meta has shifted in gaming. But still, okay, because you take a look at the games that are out there right now and the ones that are right up at the top, well, they're the old staples, okay? They're the reliable ones. You got Counter-Strike 2. Talking about Steam here for a second. You got, CS2, Dota, and then more recent entries like Marvel Rivals. Like, a lot of free-to-play games are absolutely killing it, but one of the best performing games that just came out not that long ago, Monster Hunter Wilds, kind of pokes a hole in that narrative. And some of the biggest games that came out last year as well, like Helldivers 2, that was the AA, maybe AAA, depending on how. I'm not entirely sure the budget on that one. Pal World for sure backs that up, but when there's a big AAA game that hits, like them or not, Call of Duty still pulls in a huge numbers. It's just, those are becoming few and far between, and it's definitely the mid-budget games, because 50 million, that's still a lot of cash, by the way. And that's definitely where you are finding the innovation. But when you're starting to get to numbers like this, and you see it in Hollywood all the time, they become too big, not to fail like the old sentiment used to be. They become too big to succeed because they're trying to appeal to everybody, because they need to appeal to everybody in order to break even or maybe potentially turn a profit. That's why the MCU is turned to sludge. That's why every one of your favorite franchises, once they hit a certain point, they begin to fall off so spectacularly. They forget who they are and why people were drawn to them in the first place, and they end up getting replaced by a bunch of stuffed suits, and they end up becoming victims of their own success. And Ubisoft, oh yeah, they're definitely on that track record. Or I'm sorry, on that track itself. It's very much apparent, and it has been for a very long time, because I don't remember the last time that I bought a Ubisoft game. Like, I've been wholeheartedly disappointed in them since Watch Dogs first came out. Not the second one, not Legion, not any of the stuff that people rightly criticize as being Zoomer cringe, but when they promised the moon and delivered pothole-ridden Detroit city block, yeah, I was skeptical of them moving forward. And very little of what they've done has enticed me to ever come back. But now that's hit critical mass, as Ubisoft stock is downgraded to sell, and this is ahead of their biggest release ever, or at least their most consequential release ever, as 10-cent buyouts, yes, talks stall. Ooh, interesting. 10 days until Assassin's Creed Shadow launches. Ooh, this is obviously when this tweet was sent out. At this point in time, we're officially a week away, right? And investors are not hopeful. CFRA downgraded their stock last month, and the price has barely moved upwards in anticipation of the launch. Investors usually bake in expectations of performance into the stock price, and that means confidence in the title is low. Ubisoft will have to surprise investors with the new game's performance for it to spike. Anything can happen, but if the game underperforms expectations even slightly, it will be a very bad, very, very bad for Ubisoft. And I mean, you take a look at the screenshot right there, and Tings over the past 3 months have not looked good at all. I mean, like, it fallen off the face of the earth. That was in on and around the time when they announced that, we're gonna have to go back and we're gonna have to put Star Wars Outlaws back in the oven to cook for a little while longer, because oh boy, that was a disaster. But hey, good news, we're coming back to Steam. We're ditching our own proprietary outlet, and we're just going back to the biggest sandbox where we can go ahead and thrash around in the ocean of content now. But yes, I think this is what investing.com, this talks with 10 cents stalling. Well, that totally makes sense. I mean, their stock price isn't moving. They're about to release something that is going to spell the end of their company. Why would they want to buy something ahead of something so catastrophic when they can save millions of dollars on an eventual buyout sometime over the summer? But there's also been rumors, and that's, I'm sure, something else we're going to be talking about. Okay, there looks to be other companies swooping in and just circling this corpse that is about to drop dead of exhaustion. I've heard EA is looking to buy Ubisoft, which if you're a gamer of a certain time frame, it's like EA coming in and buying Ubisoft. It sounds absolutely absurd. But then, of course, I've also seen Microsoft, and it's like, this totally makes sense. Okay, if Microsoft comes in, if Tencent is very, very cool on the prospects of doing anything with Ubisoft's a vast array of IPs, it would make sense that these buyout talks from a bunch of different companies, they would start to heat up. I would imagine probably around April or May, around the start of the next fiscal year. Things are going to start moving for Ubisoft. I just don't necessarily think it's in a good direction for them specifically. And even more so when you start to see things like this, people aren't necessarily organizing, certain get-togethers in anticipation of their upcoming game. They're staging a boycott, which is not good. Not good for them. Ubisoft faces shareholder revolt as financial crisis deepens. Minority shareholder plans demonstration outside Ubisoft HQ citing deceptive tactics. Oh shit, that's actually like a lot more nefarious than first thought. Ubisoft is once again in turmoil as minority shareholders prepare to stage a demonstration outside the company's Paris Air headquarters. AJ Investment, led by CEO Juraj Kurpa, has accused Ubisoft's management of severe mismanagement, lack of transparency, and allowing the company's value to plummet. Well, I mean, all of those things are true. Like, at least two of them you can, that just right there, you can see with your own very eyes. But lack of transparency depends on what you're talking about, but you know, I could be convinced. But taking a look at the statement from AJ Investments here, management postponed its current game, Assassin's Creed, first time from the 18th of July 2024, really, which should save the company and its financial, okay. Krupka's statement reads, all typos included, okay, on the date, Ubisoft confirming full year guidance for the year-end release of AC Shadows on November 15th. Okay, that was the first, or the second delay, or is that the first delay? Was it supposed to come out in July? That's crazy. Okay, because I remember November 15th was like the first confirmed date, but okay. And just a couple months in September 2024, Ubisoft delayed the game again and revised its guidance, which in our view was a move that could have been predicted by Ubisoft management. Oh yeah, very much so, but they thought that, Star Wars Outlaws released and it was a buggy disaster. We can probably get away with the same, but oh shit, like the sales for Outlaws were atrocious. How could they not see that coming? But anyways, that was their hubris on display, and now, not so much. Krupka said the repeated delays that pushed Shadows to March 20th caused severe stock declines, which harmed mostly retail investors and have limited resources to manage their positions accordingly. Meanwhile, the time Ubisoft said the delays came from wanting to give the game more polish, which sounds far more sensible from a player's perspective. AJ Investments is planning the demonstration for May to give Ubisoft enough time to make good on its promise and reverse course. If the conclusion effectively enhances shareholder value, we will call off the demonstration. Otherwise, AJ Investments also declared it's ready to sue the company for misleading investors. So yeah, we're going to see this come to fruition in May, but we're going to see this thing die or thrive in just a few short days. It's going to be fun to watch, that's for sure. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.